In less than half an hour, Luke and his group arrived in Washington, D.C., and went directly to the safe house where Li Qingyue was. As soon as they pushed open the door, they saw Li Qingyue yawning from boredom. "Mr. Li, what are you doing here?" Matt asked in surprise. "That's a good question. I'd also like to ask why you're here. Are you the Agents Fury was talking about?" "I guess so. With you joining us, I think our chances of winning have increased a lot," Matt said with a smile. "Don't stand outside, come in and sit down." Luke and the others went into the safe house and sat down. Not long after they sat down, Coulson arrived, bringing a pile of equipment. "What are these equipment?" "These are all equipment prepared for you. Wear them. They will greatly improve your safety." "I don't need these." "You can take them if you want," Luke said, shaking his head. "I don't need it either, Jill, Ward, you guys put these on. After all, stray bullets don't have eyes." Li Qingyue handed the equipment to Jill and Ward and said. The two of them did not refuse and put on the equipment directly. On the defenders' side, Jessica and Eric also put on the equipment that Coulson had prepared for them. Not only that, Eric also changed all his weapons and equipment. After all, his income has been almost zero since the vampires disappeared, and his katana and guns have been damaged to varying degrees due to lack of proper maintenance. Although it can be used if the knife is dull and the gun is inaccurate, it's better not to use it at all. Now all they need to do is wait here for Director Fury to give the order, and then they can storm the Tri-Wing building directly. Meanwhile, what was our Chief Fury doing? He was in the Tri-Wing building, pretending nothing had happened, and continuing to do his work for the day. At that moment, John Garrett entered Director Fury's office with a document, placed it on the desk, and said, "Director, Project Insight is 1/3 successful. Now we can begin to test the plan." "So fast?" "That's right, but since only 1/3 has been completed, the coverage area is not very large. Also, I recently heard that a group of terrorists came here, so I decided to test the plan to see if there are any loopholes." "In that case, let's begin the testing." Director Fury lowered his head, seemingly looking at documents, but his eyes were filled with murderous intent, though he concealed it well. "Okay, Director, I'll start the testing now. The space carrier will take off at noon today." "I understand, I will be there on time." John Garrett then left the office, but Director Fury took out a button and pressed it directly. From the safe house, Coulson saw his personal device vibrate and immediately turned to the group, saying, "Everyone, get ready to move out. This is a floor plan of the Tri-Wing Tower. After you release the truth serum, Captain, you'll give a speech. After all, your identity is irreplaceable to them. Then we'll begin our operation." "A speech? What do I need to say?" "Whatever, improvise or whatever. Just tell them when they run into us that I'm not a Hydra agent," Walter said, waving his hand. "Oh, right, there's one more thing. These are temporary identities I've created for you. They're only valid for a very short time. They might be exposed by Hydra in half an hour, so you must get inside the Tri-Wing Tower within half an hour," Coulson explained to the group. "Aren't you coming with us?" Li Qingyue asked. "I have more important things to do, thank you all." Coulson bowed to the crowd and then turned to leave. Without further ado, everyone got into the car and drove towards the Tri-Wing building. The Tri-Wing Tower is located by the sea, and most remarkably, it's situated on an island. S.H.I.E.L.D. spent a significant amount of money reclaiming land from the sea to create this site. The only way in and out is via a single bridge. So when the group of cars appeared on the bridge, they immediately attracted attention, since the car was not registered. However, after the agents at the entrance checked their identities and confirmed that there were no problems, they let them through, and the group was able to enter the Tri-Wing building. Following the information provided by Coulson, Walter, Connor, and Jill went to the center of the ventilation system. Walter only needed to pour the truth serum in there, and it would spread throughout the entire Tri-Wing building in just 10 seconds. However, precisely because of this, in order to prevent anyone from poisoning the ventilation system, this place is heavily guarded by a large number of special agents. It will take some effort for them to get in. Steve and his team arrived at the radio station, quickly dealt with the guards, and took complete control of the situation. Steve then began his speech. Upon hearing Steve's voice, Walter and his team knew they couldn't delay any longer and immediately rushed towards the ventilation system center. Upon seeing this, the agents guarding the door immediately raised their guns and fired, acting very decisively without even asking any questions. However, they were facing an enhanced being. The agents simply raised their hands, unleashed their telekinetic power, and the immense force slammed them heavily against the wall, knocking them unconscious. Immediately afterward, Walter pushed open the door and poured the truth serum into the ventilation system. 10 seconds later, everyone in the entire Tri-Wing building was infected by the truth serum. After realizing he couldn't lie, Steve decided to make a final decision. "I know you may not believe what I'm saying. If you don't believe me, you can point a gun at the person next to you and make them say, I'm not a Hydra agent. The whole building is infected with the truth serum now, and no one can lie. If you believe me, then do it. An eerie silence fell over the entire Tri-Wing building until someone drew a gun and shouted, I am not a Hydra agent. He then pointed his gun at the others, and some of them raised their guns in response, shouting, I'm not a Hydra agent. But as more and more people shouted this phrase, and everyone thought it was just Steve playing a trick on them, the silence of some people caught their attention. Don't move. Say those words. But the man remained silent and slowly reached for the pistol at his waist. Left with no other choice, they shot him dead. Now they finally believed Steve's words. They began to raise their guns, aiming at each person they encountered and forcing them to say those words. Gradually, the entire Tri-Wing building was divided into two parts. One part was Hydra, and the other part was S.H.I.E.L.D. Furthermore, compared to S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra's military strength and firepower are far superior. After all, the rapid response units and task forces within S.H.I.E.L.D. are all Hydra personnel, while most of the staff within S.H.I.E.L.D. are civilians. Although they have also undergone agent training, they are certainly not as powerful as Hydra. And don't forget that they also have Li Qingyue and the Defenders Alliance. Gunfire erupted inside the Tri-Wing Tower. Due to the overwhelming disparity in combat strength, S.H.I.E.L.D. was being completely suppressed. And as the space under their control dwindled, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were forced to hide in some rooms. We've been exposed, John Garrett told Pierce. It doesn't matter, let the space carrier take off. As long as it flies, at least we'll be invincible. But the plan is incomplete. There's no time to discuss the incompleteness with you anymore. I've already sent a large number of reinforcements to the Tri-Wing building. As long as we take care of them, we can pin this turmoil on Nick Fury. Then we can refine Project Insight one by one. Do you understand? Pierce shouted. Yes, sir. As John Garrett issued the order, all the Hydra agents began their slaughter. At this critical moment, Li Qingyue and his team stepped forward. As for why it wasn't Steve, it was because he was heading to the space carrier, and he was going to stop the takeoff. Once it ascends to an altitude of 3,500 meters, the Insight system will be activated, and nearly 6,000 people will die at its hands, not including S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Therefore, Steve would never allow it to ascend. Once Li Qingyue entered the battlefield, he immediately went into overdrive. Relying on his superb marksmanship and strong physique, he fired from the main road, ignoring the hiding enemies. After all, his bullets could hit the target through various ricochets. Gradually, the Hydra agents realized that they were no match for him and could only quickly flee the floor where Li Qingyue was located. Gaia, has it invaded? Boss, we've already hacked into the Tri-Wing building. All right, inform all S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to leave the building, otherwise they might get caught in the crossfire. Okay, boss, it's been broadcast. The next second, Steve's voice came over the radio. All S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, please leave the building immediately. All S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, please leave the building immediately. This was, of course, Steve's voice synthesized by Gaia, but it worked surprisingly well. As soon as the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents headed toward the door, they had to shout, I am not a Hydra agent, to get out. Otherwise, they would be trapped inside the building. 10 minutes later, Gaia's voice rang out again. Boss, all S.H.I.E.L.D. agents have left the Tri-Wing Tower. Are you sure? Sure. All right, Connor, don't use your demonic powers. Just use firearms. With your X-ray vision, that should be enough to deal with them. Li Qingyue was about to go upstairs when he suddenly remembered something and said to Connor, I understand, boss. And so the group began clearing the floor by floor, and the Hydra agents were basically no match for them. As the Hydra agents continued their retreat, John Garrett anxiously shouted, Boss, where are our reinforcements? The reinforcements have been intercepted. Now, you must immediately publish all the things S.H.I.E.L.D. has done over the years on the internet. It's no use. The entire building is now occupied by an artificial intelligence. We've lost all access. If we don't get reinforcements, we might not make it through today. John Garrett shouted. Pierce was helpless. He had mobilized all the Hydra agents in Washington, D.C., but they were caught in a pincer movement by Coulson's reinforcements and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who had retreated from the Tri-Wing building. Now they had no one left to use. What do we do now? Asked Brock Rumlow, Crossbones, the captain of the Rapid Reaction Force. I don't know either. Are there any planes? Can we evacuate first? It's too late. The air defense system has been activated. Any aircraft that dares to fly will be shot down. Since there's no other way, let's fight them. Meanwhile, Coulson was engaged in a fierce battle with Hydra's reinforcements, who were not ordinary people but modified centipede warriors, including a heavyweight among them, the Winter Soldier. Luke, I need your help. Coulson shouted to Luke as he watched his men being beaten back. Upon receiving the message, Luke immediately gathered his team and rode their motorcycles toward the bridge. They soon spotted the two sides locked in combat, and Luke also saw the Winter Soldier already aiming at Coulson. It was too late to get there now, so he chose a faster method. He slammed on the brakes. Its powerful force caused the rear wheel to flip over, and then Luke seized the opportunity in midair to throw the motorcycle directly at the Winter Soldier. Sensing the threat of death, the Winter Soldier instinctively lunged to the side. A motorcycle grazed his face and crashed heavily into the car next to him, the force so great that the motorcycle was embedded in the Hummer. The Winter Soldier turned to look at Luke. To the person who had bothered him, the Winter Soldier immediately raised his rifle and fired. Luke raised his hand to shield his eyes and then charged at the Winter Soldier like a bull. Seeing that the bullets couldn't harm him, the Winter Soldier immediately ordered the Centipede Warrior beside him to self-destruct. However, to the Winter Soldier's surprise, even the Centipede Warrior's self-destruction couldn't hurt Luke, which surprised him. It was this slight lapse in concentration that allowed Luke to approach the Winter Soldier, and the two began to fight. However, the Winter Soldier was no match for Luke and was quickly captured, even having his mask knocked off. Just as Luke was about to kill the Winter Soldier, Coulson saw the Winter Soldier's face and shouted, "Wait! Coulson, what's wrong? Bucky Barnes, how did you become the Winter Soldier?" Coulson asked incredulously. The Winter Soldier looked completely bewildered. He looked at Coulson coldly and asked, "Who is Bucky Barnes? It seems you've lost your memory, or even been brainwashed." "Luke, spare his life," Coulson said helplessly. After all, Coulson was Luke's superior, so he nodded without hesitation. Meanwhile, the others had also dealt with their opponents. However, because the modification experiment of these Centipede Warriors was not mature, they would self-destruct if their emotions fluctuated too much. So, the Centipede Warriors lying on the ground began to self-destruct, and everyone quickly found a place to hide. When the explosion ended, everyone peeked out and saw that the once smooth cement road was now full of potholes. "Look!" Daniel shouted. Everyone looked up and saw that the space carrier that had taken off was slowly landing, which meant that Steve had also won. Not only Steve, but also on the roof of the Tri-Wing building, Li Qingyue had successfully killed all the Hydra agents and sat in Director Fury's seat, waiting for Director Fury's arrival. Meanwhile, Director Fury was at Pierce's house, looking at the corpse on the ground with a sigh. The corpse was none other than Alexander Pierce. Now, all that was needed was to clean up the branch, and S.H.I.E.L.D. would be reborn. But the most important thing now was to give an explanation to the United Nations Council. "Nick Fury, don't you need to give us an explanation?" In another room on the top floor of the Tri-Wing building, Director Fury had 5 virtual projections in front of him, representing the 5 Security Council member states. "Confess, I've already confessed. Alexander Pierce is a Hydra agent, and all those who died in this war were Hydra agents. Evidence? If you can't produce any evidence, how can I believe you? What if this is just a tactic you're using to consolidate your own position? What if something like this happens again? Are you going to continue using this excuse to fob us off?" the British representative said. "I'm gathering evidence, please give me some time." "Okay, we'll give you 7 days. If after 7 days there is still no evidence to prove that the people who died in this battle were Hydra agents, then S.H.I.E.L.D. no longer needs to exist." After they finished speaking, the projections of the group disappeared, leaving only Director Fury shaking his head and sighing helplessly, his hands resting on the table. "Knock, knock, knock. Enter." "Chief, we found a USB drive at Pierce's house, but it was locked. If we force it open, the contents could be corrupted. However, through counter-tracing, we finally determined that the file originated from an abandoned military base in New Jersey, Camp Caspian." Upon hearing that name, Director Fury's eyes sharpened, and he looked at Agent Hill seriously, asking, "Are you sure?" "Sure. That's the training base where Captain America trained before he was injected with the serum, and it was also the first base of the Strategic Science Corps, the predecessor of S.H.I.E.L.D. However, it has been abandoned for a long time. How could such a USB drive possibly be here?" Director Fury said, puzzled. "Should we send someone over to check? Let the captain lead the team there. After all, it's a place he used to be familiar with. But tell him to be careful. By the way, have all the people at the branch been cleared out?" Director Fury asked. "The first cleaning has already been done, and we are arranging for the second cleaning. Have Phoenix help you clean up again, including headquarters. I don't want Hydra to infiltrate us again." "Yes, Director." "Go." Agent Hill then left, and Director Fury returned to his seat, tapping his fingers incessantly on the table. The situation at S.H.I.E.L.D. was much better than before. Before, S.H.I.E.L.D. had been disbanded, unable to appear openly in the public eye, and its influence was no longer what it once was. It's only temporarily out of service. As long as there are enough people, this behemoth, S.H.I.E.L.D., will soon be back to normal. Divider line. Meanwhile, Li Qingyue returned to his agency space with the reward from S.H.I.E.L.D. After putting his things away, he gathered all the staff and planned to take them into the Harry Potter world to relax. After all, they had been busy building the space these past few days, and before they could even get a proper rest, they had taken on another commission. So what they need most right now is to relax. That's why Li Qingyue chose the Harry Potter world. After all, the early part of this world is quite fairy tale-like, but it only becomes more and more like a movie for adults later on. Richard, are you coming with us or staying here? Li Qingyue called Richard over. After all, he was still just a child, and they couldn't possibly travel the world with him every day. It's okay, I've already talked to Mom and Dad. All right, let's go together then. With a blinding flash of white light, everyone vanished instantly. When they could see again, they found themselves in a dense forest. Boss, have we arrived? What kind of place is this? Walter asked, shaking off the dry leaves from his head. The Forbidden Forest. It seems we've arrived at Hogwarts. Hogwarts, where is this? Jill asked. A magic academy. Let's go, it's time to meet the headmaster here, Li Qingyue said. Just as everyone was about to move forward, they suddenly heard a scream. They rushed over and found a cloaked figure approaching a child. Li Qingyue, seeing the familiar scene before him, shouted, Avada Kedavra! Upon hearing the voice, the man in the black cloak was so frightened that he immediately fled the spot, and the child was thus saved. He stood up and turned to look at Li Qingyue and the others. Thank you, but why haven't I seen you before? The child asked innocently. Li Qingyue smiled and walked to the boy's side, placing his hand on his shoulder. Harry Potter, a child who escaped death. I never expected that our first meeting would be here. You know me? Of course we know you. Let us see you out of the Forbidden Forest, Li Qingyue said with a smile. But Harry always felt that Li Qingyue's smile was malicious, and not only him, Jill felt it too. Don't bully the child. What are you talking about? How could I possibly bully our Harry Potter? With Li Qingyue's help, they left the Forbidden Forest. Constantine, make some noise. Constantine nodded, clapped his hands, and a ball of purple energy appeared in his hands. He tossed it gently, and the purple ball of light soared into the air. The next second, the ball of light exploded with a deafening roar and a purple light that illuminated the sky, instantly waking up all the sleeping students and teachers at Hogwarts. In particular, Headmaster Albus Dumbledore immediately used apparition to appear in front of Li Qingyue and his group. When he saw Li Qingyue, his group, and Harry, his subordinate, his expression changed. Who are you? Dumbledore asked sternly, a wand already appearing in his hand, and pointed at them. Upon seeing this, Constantine immediately spread his hands, and the shield of Seraphim appeared before them. Dumbledore looked at the unfamiliar magic before him, but did not act immediately. Instead, he looked at Li Qingyue, knowing that Li Qingyue was their leader. What do you want? Dumbledore asked. Harry sensed something was wrong and tried to leave, but Li Qingyue stopped him as soon as he took a step. Don't rush off, little Harry, you're my bargaining chip, Li Qingyue said with a smile. At this moment, the heads of the 4 houses arrived at the scene. Stryland, Severus Snape, Gryffindor, Minerva McGonagall, Hufflepuff, Professor Pomona Sprout, and Ravenclaw Felius Flitwick. Upon their arrival, the 4 deans immediately drew their wands and aimed them at Li Qingyue and his companions. Li Qingyue confronted the 4 heads of the house and Dumbledore. In order to put some pressure on them, Li Qingyue flipped his hand, and a dagger appeared in his hand. Then, he slowly placed the dagger against Harry's neck. Headmaster Dumbledore, Harry, choose between the Philosopher's Stone and the Harry Potter. As Li Qingyue's dagger drew ever closer to Harry's neck, Headmaster Snape raised his wand and shouted, Sword of Despair! Unfortunately, Constantine's shield of Seraphim was there, and his magic couldn't break through the defense at all. Don't move, or I'll kill him while you're using your magic, Li Qingyue said coldly, which frightened the 5 people so much that they dared not do anything rash. This is the Philosopher's Stone. I'm giving it to you now. Let Harry go. Dumbledore tapped his wand lightly against his palm, and a red crystal-like stone appeared in his hand. He then tossed the Philosopher's Stone to Li Qingyue, who caught it, but he still didn't let Harry go. Don't rush, there's one more thing. Could you please call Professor Quirrell over here? Why? No reason why, just asking for your help. Dumbledore had no choice but to summon his pet phoenix, Fawkes, and bring Quirrell over. Hello, please excuse me. Do you need something from me? Professor Quirrell couldn't help but ask after arriving at the scene. Li Qingyue crouched down, whispered something in Harry's ear, and then tossed the Philosopher's Stone to Professor Quirrell. Professor Quirrell instinctively caught the Philosopher's Stone, and the next moment a parchment scroll rose from Li Qingyue's body and spontaneously combusted. Then Li Qingyue took out a card and threw it on the ground. Instantly, a golden light spread out, and Li Qingyue and the others were all surrounded by golden light. What are you doing? Professor Quirrell asked in confusion. Isn't this what you wanted? Mr. Voldemort. Oh, and this is your second gift. Li Qingyue then picked up Harry and threw him out. Before anyone could react, Harry was already clinging to Professor Quirrell, and then Harry placed his hands on Professor Quirrell's face. Professor Quirrell immediately let out a scream, and then cracks appeared on his body. He dried up quickly like a clay sculpture, and then turned into dust. I killed Professor Quirrell. Harry stared at his hands in shock. No, even if you don't kill him, he won't live much longer, and you've avenged yourself. Li Qingyue came to Harry's side and pointed to a cloud of black mist on Quirrell's clothes. The black mist formed a figure that rushed towards Harry. Constantine casually flicked out a purple lightning bolt, shattering it. Then Li Qingyue picked up the Philosopher's Stone and tossed it to Headmaster Dumbledore. Headmaster Dumbledore, we helped you eliminate the remnants of Voldemort's soul. How will you thank us? What would you like to be thanked for? Headmaster Dumbledore asked. How about we talk about this tomorrow? It's getting late. Why don't we stay at the school for the night? What do you think? Good. Albus. Professor McGonagall tugged at Headmaster Dumbledore's clothes and whispered. Professor McGonagall, I know what you're worried about, but don't worry, we're not so bad as to lay a hand on a child, and this is just a toy knife. As he spoke, Li Qingyue touched the tip of the dagger, but the blade retracted. It turned out to be just a retractable toy knife. Seeing this, Professor McGonagall said nothing more. Please come with me, I'll take you to rest, Headmaster Dumbledore said with a smile. Li Qingyue nodded, and the group followed behind Headmaster Dumbledore, while Snape and the others stayed behind, comforting Harry and asking about Li Qingyue and the others. The group followed Headmaster Dumbledore to Hogwarts Castle, and after turning left and right, they finally arrived at a floor that looked like it hadn't been visited in a long time. I'm sorry, we haven't had any guests staying here for a long time, but don't worry, I've already asked the house elves to clean your rooms. By the way, would you like some dinner? If so, just tell the heir what you want to eat, and a house elves will bring it to you. Then everyone opened the room door and were very satisfied with the clean and tidy room full of medieval style. Tom and Jerry, in particular, quickly ran to the fireplace, lay down, and slowly fell asleep feeling the warmth of the fireplace. Thank you for your help, Headmaster Dumbledore. Li Qingyue nodded to Headmaster Dumbledore. Headmaster Dumbledore nodded, then vanished in a flash. Let's rest first, and then we can wander around tomorrow, Li Qingyue said. Everyone nodded and lay down on the soft bed, while Li Qingyue held Jill and fell asleep. But outside the Forbidden Forest, Professor McGonagall's questioning was not yet over. Harry, are you sure you really don't know how they got in? Yes, Professor McGonagall. Malfoy and I were on patrol when we suddenly saw a man in a black cloak drinking unicorn blood. Just as he was about to hurt me, they appeared and chased him away. I don't think they were bad people. He told me to touch Professor Quirrell's face. Upon hearing Harry's words, the four heads of the house exchanged glances, at which point Headmaster Dumbledore appeared. Harry, you should go back and rest, Headmaster Dumbledore said to Harry with a kind smile. Yes, Headmaster Dumbledore. Harry walked toward the castle, but he kept turning back, as if he wanted to ask something, but in the end he didn't. Albus, who exactly are they? I don't know the answer to that, but I think I'll find out tomorrow. Do we really want to keep such a dangerous person in the school? Dean Felius-Frivy asked. Yes, did you just see that person? The magic he used was something we've never seen before, and it was incredibly powerful, Snape said, frowning. I know, but I trust them. Well, it's getting late, go back and rest. You'll know everything tomorrow, Dumbledore said with a mysterious smile. The four deans exchanged glances and sighed, but they couldn't persuade Headmaster Dumbledore otherwise. In the end, they could only go back to rest and talk about it again tomorrow. The next day, when Li Qingyue and his friends woke up, they opened the door and saw the house elf standing timidly at the door, holding a tray with toiletries such as toothbrushes, toothpaste, and towels. Li Qingyue accepted it and said, "Thank you." Unexpectedly, the person who kept the elf excitedly whispered, as if having a fit of madness, "My esteemed guest thanked me. My esteemed guest thanked me. I'm so excited." Just as Li Qingyue was about to say something, the house elf disappeared. Helpless, Li Qingyue could only take the things inside. After everyone finished washing up, they were just about to figure out how to get downstairs when they saw the stairs constantly changing. It seems this place is impassable for now. Let's look for other places. How about we jump from here? Connor said, pointing to the window at the end of the passage. Good idea, let's go. The group went to the window, looked down, and found that the height was about 20 or 30 meters, which was nothing to them. Connor grabbed the window frame with both hands, then pulled hard and jumped out of the window. Connor's sudden appearance startled the students who were having breakfast. They stared at him with their mouths agape in fear. "Hey kids, make way, there are other people here," Connor said to the students. As soon as the students made way, Li Qingyue descended from the sky, followed by Constantine, Tom, Jerry, and finally Walter, Richard, and Jill, who jumped into the arms of Connor, Constantine, and Li Qingyue respectively. "I think I should leave the map with you," Headmaster Dumbledore said, appearing beside them. I'm sorry, it's mainly because your staircases keep getting all messed up, Li Qingyue said helplessly. Please, let's go have breakfast. I also have some questions I'd like to ask you. Headmaster Dumbledore invited them. Certainly. The group then arrived at the restaurant, where their appearance attracted the attention of all the students. However, instead of asking any questions, they whispered among themselves about the group's identities. No one spoke, they ate their food. After everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, Headmaster Dumbledore invited Li Qingyue to his office. The others, having received his permission, were allowed to tour the castle. Tom and Jerry, in particular, were like wild horses, disappearing from everyone's sight in just a few seconds. Fred, you go and introduce your courses to these guests. Remember, don't play any pranks, Headmaster Dumbledore said to a red-haired boy before leaving. Yes, Headmaster. Please follow me, guests. Jill and the others followed Fred and his group toward other parts of the castle. Please sit down. I'm not sure how to address you yet. Li Qingyue. Hello, Qingyue, may I call you that? Sure. Would you like some cockroaches? Headmaster Dumbledore opened a box, and dozens of cockroaches were crawling around inside. This horrifying scene made Li Qingyue suddenly feel like vomiting. I'm not eating it, you eat it yourself. All right then, it seems you're not someone who knows how to appreciate things either. Enough of that, Lao Deng. What exactly did you call me here for? Who exactly are you people? I asked some of my old friends to look up your information, but they couldn't find a single clue about you. It's as if you appeared out of thin air. Li Qingyue smiled slightly and told Headmaster Dumbledore and his group their origins and what they had come here to do. As expected of the world's #1 white devil, Principal Dumbledore quickly digested the information Li Qingyue had given him. But according to you, your request has been completed, so why haven't you left? Remember when I threw a card on the ground? It was a treasure that allowed us to stay in the quest world for 6 months after completing the quest. 6 months, so what do you plan to do during these 6 months? Well, I'll learn the magic here. In return, I can have Constantine teach you some magic from other worlds. Even if you can't learn it, you can still learn from it. Of course, what I really want is the method of building Hogwarts Castle, because I also have a castle, and I'm thinking of seeing if I can replicate a Hogwarts. This might be a bit difficult, after all. Even I wouldn't dare say I'm 100% familiar with the castle, but you have 6 months to explore it at your own pace. Okay, is there anything else? If not, I'll go out for a stroll. Old Deng, after all, I have a wand too. With that, Li Qingyue took out the exclusive wand that the system had rewarded him with. The wand was half silver and half dark red, with a dark red giant axe engraved at the silver end and a silver giant scythe engraved on the opposite side. Looking at the wand before him, Headmaster Dumbledore could clearly feel his elder wand trembling with fear. This magic wand? My own magic wand, how about that? Cool, right? It's quite unique. All right, I won't say any more. I'm going to audit some classes. After all, I haven't systematically studied magic yet. I'm off. Li Qingyue then took the map and quickly arrived at Professor McGonagall's classroom, where she was teaching first-year students. Li Qingyue saw several familiar faces there, such as Harry, Hermione, and Ron, who were the main characters. Professor McGonagall paused when she saw Li Qingyue, and that pause drew the attention of all the students present. Professor McGonagall, my name is Li Qingyue, and I'm here to audit the class. Listen in. All right then, come in and have a seat. Professor McGonagall then continued explaining the basics of transfiguration, including the hand gestures for waving a wand and the incantations. After teaching everything, Professor McGonagall let the students practice on their own. At the same time, she came to Li Qingyue, took out a match, handed it to him, and said, "This is your first time attending a class. Try to see if you can turn this match into a needle." Li Qingyue nodded, took out his magic wand, and its cool appearance attracted the attention of many students. However, Li Qingyue ignored them and tried to turn it into silver needles, but there was no reaction at all. Just as Professor McGonagall was about to teach Li Qingyue again, she discovered that the matches on the table had turned into silver needles. So that's how it is. I believe I can transform into a silver needle, so it can become a silver needle. What a wonderful idealism. Haha, I get it. The next moment, Li Qingyue waved his magic wand, and the entire classroom began to change rapidly. Various flowers, plants, and trees appeared, and the chairs under everyone's bottoms turned into tree people, who were now being held in their arms. All right, Qingyue, your performance was perfect. Please stop now, don't frighten the children. Although Professor McGonagall was shocked, she quickly spoke up when she saw the panicked children. Excuse me, Professor McGonagall, I got a little carried away. Li Qingyue waved his hand casually, and everything returned to normal. Professor McGonagall breathed a sigh of relief and said that Li Qingyue did not need to attend this class now. If he still needed to attend, he could come back in the afternoon for the 6th grade metamorphosis class.